Thank you. Timothy, please.
Thank you very much. And just before I do proceed, Chair, I realise we've only a few minutes left. You've been very patient with all the rest of the committee, and I trust that if I haven't got all my questions put to the to your evidence session, that you'll either give me additional time or you'll ask them to come back again before you cut in like you did on me last week.
Excuse me, please. I'm in the chair. I'll decide how long people get to ask questions, and if I think you're being gratuitously offensive to sections of society, I will cut in, and I reserve that right.
That's okay, as long as you're not trying to censor me, Chair.
Thank you.
I want to just start off with the Secretary of State's announcement that there will be a public inquiry into the Pat Finucane case. Can I just ask, were you consulted prior to that announcement being made?
No. It's nothing to do with us. It's a matter for the Secretary of State alone.
When the announcement was made, there was a quote issued by yourself, Sir Declan, that you welcome the certainty this brings to the Finucane family. It is long overdue.
Yeah. The commitment to a public inquiry in relation to Mr Finucane was made about 20 years ago between the two governments. It is an intergovernmental commitment. The delivery of that commitment represents an adherence to the concept of the rule of law on an international basis. If that commitment hadn't been honoured, then I think it might well have been undermining of the approach to the rule of law. But when two governments make a commitment to each other, the expectation is that they will do what they say.
Prior to the evidence session today, I've met with a number of victims groups.
Yeah.
How do you think that statement made them feel, that you welcome them? That there's this thought process, and I can understand why, that certain victims are being treated differently and other ones are being treated as a lesser of a victim on the basis that a family has got a public inquiry and the rest have been made to go to yourselves.
Well, the position is that I didn't make the commitment on behalf of the government back in 2003, but the commitment was made, and you will need to talk to those who made the commitment to see why they made it. But once they made it, they clearly had created an expectation in relation to a particular case. It's nothing to do with us. We had no engagement with it, but this commitment has been sitting there for 20 years, and it seems to me that the delay that was involved in the government honouring what it in an international basis indicated that it was going to do was unfortunate.
You give me your analysis of the ICRIR's ability to consider the Finucane case.
The ICRIR, in my view, could have dealt with the Finucane case in terms of its competence to do it. I've no doubt about that, but I can certainly see that from the point of view of the Irish government, who are challenging the Act and implicitly the Commission, that for the Secretary of State to refer the matter to us might have been a problem.
And just on that, the Secretary of State...
Timothy, this will now be your sixth question, so if you'd like to move on to a different line of questioning, otherwise I'm going to end the session.
This is the last one on that line of questioning. The Secretary of State said that the Finucane case was exceptional. Have you seen anything to suggest that it was exceptional and couldn't have been considered by yourselves?
Apart from the fact that there was an intergovernmental agreement, I'm not aware of any other significant feature of the Finucane case that springs to mind.
I picked up from your evidence you had mentioned about the Irish government. In light of the Irish government's failure to offer anything in legacy, have you confidence that the Irish government will buy into this process?
Whether the Irish government engages looks to me as though it's probably going to be a matter that primarily will be dealt with between the two governments. Certainly the impression that I've had from the statements issued by the Secretary of State and those on behalf of the Irish government is that they both intend to seek to address this. How they address it, I'm not in a position to say at this stage, and I would hope that whatever happens ensures that victims have access to as much information as possible in order to ensure that they get the unvarnished truth in relation to things that happened.
Can you give a
Please,
commitment?
quick one, thank you.
Can you give a commitment to families living in Fermanagh and along the border that they will get a full and an outcome of all the information that they desire based on the Irish government? You know, for years terrorists used the border. You know, the Republic was known as a safe haven where terrorists could just skip across the border and not have to come back to Northern Ireland.
I think the Commission has an interest in seeking, where it can, to promote the exchange of information from Ireland to the UK in relation to the cases that you mentioned.
Okay, thank you, thank you. I'm conscious.
Chair,
I'm moving on. We have a really important panel coming up at 3 o'clock. So
could I
thank you.
ask that there's a request that they come back to this committee?
Well, we will decide that as a committee in terms of our forward work programme, but thank you. Leslie, I'm conscious that you haven't had an opportunity to say much today. Is there anything you would like to say or